What does a trade week win look like for Collingwood at the moment? Let's look into it. So the Pies, as we are every year, are linked to players after players after players after players, whether it's Bailey Smith, whether it's Christian Petrarca, Jake Stringer, Alex Davies, all these sort of players. The theory going around every Collingwood supporter at the moment is Collingwood's name just gets bandied around with Alex Davies because he wants a better deal, and now Collingwood's interested, and okay, Gold Coast gives him a 2-year deal on some better money, and these sort of things. So Adelaide gave an extension to Mark King because Collingwood was interested to keep him at the club. So that's probably a little bit of it. But I think Collingwood are genuinely interested in these players. And over the last few days, we've had a few of our trade targets just sign with their existing clubs. So we had Alex Davies sign with Gold Coast for a little bit longer. So I think it was a 2-year extension. He was a part of the Gold Coast Academy. And Mark Keane, who was a former Collingwood player, signs on another 2-year extension with Adelaide, who was he was out of contract until the end of 2025, and Collingwood are interested in him because we need a tall defender because we need help for Darcy Moore. Now, towards the end of the year, this is what Craig McRae had to say about our list needs.
Yeah, we're not going to stand still. So we're not going to set a trade period and not look at all acquisitions that we think can improve us.
Is there an area of the ground in particular, without naming individual players, that you're keen to focus?
Yeah, well, there are not many of them, but the key forwards out there in the competition, we'd love to get one of those, and love to get an inside mid, and we'd love to get a nice key defender as well, and a couple of wingmen. And
so you can see, just as every other club, Collingwood are looking for talls, of course. Who isn't looking for talls? But we're also looking for other sort of positions to fill. Now, Alex Davies is an inside midfielder. Mark Keane is a tall back. We're linked with Ben Hobbs as another inside mid. We're linked with James Peatling. So out of those two guys, Peatling is uncontracted. Ben Hobbs is contract till the end of 2025, but he's out of favour at Essendon. Now, what does a trade week win look like? If you look at our trade period over the last couple of years, so 2021, we bring in Nathan Kruger and now Premiership player Patrick Lipinski. 2022 was probably our biggest trade year for a while, really, and we bring in Billy Frampton, Bobby Hill, Tom Mitchell. Those three players become Premiership players, and Dan McStay comes in as an unrestricted free agent. So not really counting him as a trade, more of a free agent. So another 3 trades. And then last season, going into this season, we bring in Lockie Schultz. So I'm not going to talk about Lockie Schultz and that deal and what that sort of means and stuff. But you can see that sometimes we're bringing in a lot of players. Sometimes we're bringing in a little bit of players. Now, some of our trade targets extending with their clubs, so Alex Davies and Mark Keane. What does a trade week win look like for us? I think it looks like a win at the moment would be bringing in 2 players and going higher up the draft order. Now, our first draft pick doesn't come until in the 30s, and with all academy selections, father-son bids, and all this sort of bullshit that goes on now, that pick 30 or whatever it is becomes, 6 spots higher. So we need to trade back into the draft. So I would love a first-round draft pick. I think that's where Noble can come into contention with Gold Coast. We know they're going to be offering Rioli. What were they offering Richmond? Pick 6 or something insane like that. So John Noble, Collingwood are going to fight tooth and nail to get Gold Coast's pick 20, which probably becomes a pick 25. Because if we go for a Gold Coast pick 26, that becomes a pick 30. Now, Gold Coast are offering John Noble a 4-year deal. He's still contracted, so we don't have to get rid of him. But if we want to get up the draft and we need to get up the draft, we're going to want to get these small picks. And the same with Port Adelaide. If they're wanting Joe Richards, we need a good draft pick or a decent draft pick for Joe Richards. So I think a trade week win, like I said, 2 draft picks and just moving up, getting a few more draft picks and moving up higher in the order don't be surprised if we do start bringing on future seconds, thirds, and fourths for next year because we have to bid on Thomas McGuan as well. He's going to be a father-son selection. He's going to be top 10, they reckon, probably even higher than that. So that's going to be interesting as well. But I don't think we're going to have a huge trade period. This, say 2 is a win. We're probably even looking at 1 player, maybe. Of those players that we talked about, we did do a rankings video a couple weeks ago. James Peatling, I think, is going to stay at the Giants. He's having a career best year. He was another one of their best players over the weekend against Sydney. Ben Hobbs, we could potentially take him out because now we have to start building this midfield around Nick Dacos. So it could be Ben Hobbs. What does Essendon want for a fringe player who's contracted for another year? Maybe it's a future third. Maybe it's a very late second. I'd even consider giving them that sort of pick 30. I like what Ben Hobbs does. I think he might be that Tom Mitchell sort of replacement. Not exactly like Tom Mitchell, but he could be that inside mid that we definitely need. Big-bodied, Taylor Adams-esque. Exactly what Nick needs to be protecting him. But on the other hand, I think I've really come around. I think Jake Stringer, if we bring in one of Jake Stringer or a James Peatling or a Ben Hobbs, I think that's a win. I know Jake Stringer is old, and I know I'd rather James Peatling. I'd rather we throw everything to James Peatling. I just don't think it's going to happen. But Jake Stringer to give us that little bit of a boost in the forward line, I think that could work really, really well. But if I had to pick one of those 3 guys, it would be Peatling. He's exactly what we need. I just don't see it happening. What I think Collingwood are gearing up to do, and this is going to be a video coming out a little bit later as well, is I think we're gearing up for the 2025 free agency period. There's some really, really good names in there. That's when our retirees start, that's when our older players start retiring and becoming retirees. So we get more space in our cap. So I think we're really gearing up for that because there's not really many players, unless they're sort of doing like a money ball situation where they're going to be getting, unrestricted free agents like this year, kind of like a Billy Frampton, not so much a Tom Mitchell. I know Billy Frampton was a trade, but like kind of like that sort of Billy Frampton, Jordan Roughhead, where it doesn't cost a lot to bring them in and they play a really good role for us. Could that be what they're sort of gearing up for? But I think really we're going to have a quiet period, and then at the end of next year, that's when we're going to explode. The one thing that I want to say before I end this video is I just want Collingwood to become a destination club again. I want, I know Bailey Smith is tied to Geelong with Cotton Eye and all this sort of stuff, but I want Peatling to say I want to go to the Pies. I want, I'd even take Stringer saying he wants to go to the Pies. I want someone to say, get me to Collingwood. Just someone, and I don't mean like someone that hasn't played a game yet and he's a draftee. That's awesome. But I want someone who's well respected and who's playing good football to say, get me to Collingwood. I'd love that. Is it going to happen? Who knows? Let me know, what do we need to address in the trade period for you to think that we've won our trade period? Let me know your thoughts down below. But until then, like, comment, subscribe, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets, and also next time, Double Shackers. I'll sweep you later.